the Swedish Defense just decided that it's time to up the game, to invest in a strategic capability that they can use for mission-critical things. What we've learned through the years is that you can't sustain a protection of society unless you have guaranteed connectivity. So that's what this is.
Welcome back to Mission Critical Aerospace and Defense Recruiting, the show where we go behind the scenes with leaders building what matters most. Today, we're recording on location at the National Nordic Museum in Seattle, Washington, with Per Norén, CEO of Ovzon, a Swedish satellite comms company that's redefining the future of secure mobile connectivity. Ovzon just secured the biggest deal in its history, a contract worth approximately $110 million with the Swedish Defense Materiel Administration, a milestone decades in the making. Their integrated SATCOM as a service platform is fast, flexible, and built for the demands of modern defense. But what makes the conversation truly unique isn't just the size of the deal, it's the Swedish engineering powering it. From launching their first satellite, Osbon 3, to deploying highly mobile, ultra-resilient terminals, Ovzon is pushing the edge of what's possible in contested mission-critical environments. This isn't just a story about satellite. It's a story about strategy, resilience, and trust in Swedish technology. Let's get into it. Per, this is so much fun.
Great to be here. Great to talk to you today.
Now tell me why we're in the National Nordic Museum here in Seattle.
First of all, it's a very unique spot. You've seen a little bit of it here. It's truly Scandinavian design. It was started in 1979 at a school here. A lot of Nordic immigrants came to Seattle. It's far away from Ellis Island, but they came here because here was shipbuilding, fishing, forestry, and other things. So they ended up in Seattle, and they wanted to keep a close connection to their heritage. So they started a museum a few years in 1979, and then in 2018 they moved into this brand new building that kind of celebrates the culture, the heritage, and the history of the Nordic countries.
Well, and if you haven't been here before, it is spectacular.
It is spectacular.
We'll dive in a little bit later in terms of how you got involved here, but the headline I wanted to talk about was your monster win.
Yep.
Tell us about this major milestone for Ovzon.
It's a week ago now that we signed the contract and announced it. It has been long in the making. I think if I just wind the clock back a little bit, I think the world has changed really when it comes to what defense applications or total defense application needs in terms of connectivity. So it has been nice to have, and now it's really mission critical, as you pointed out in your introduction. So I think the Swedish Defense Materiel Administration, on behalf of the Swedish Defense, just decided that it's time to up the game, to invest in a strategic capability that they can use for mission-critical things, unmanned, manned, stationary, mobile, anything you'd think of. And I think that what we've learned through the years, and at least through the last 3 years with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, is that you can't sustain a protection of society unless you have guaranteed connectivity. So that's what this is.
So this is a first-time win. First time Sweden's put their money in this exact manner.
Yeah.
Walk me through how you got there.
I think it's very interesting. I am being business to government in a way. Of course, procurement needs to be structured, disciplined, follow fair principles, whether it's in the US or in Sweden or in other place. But you have to build up your value proposition with all stakeholders, everything from ministers in Sweden then, or political leaders, to the defense leaders, to the end users. So we've worked very thoroughly. We're very good in solving real world problems, real problems for the end users. That's the demand that then is created. But then if decisions are going to be made for more major deals like this one, you have to have everyone on every level with you on that. So we've worked pretty diligently with tests, applications, tests of unmanned pioneering projects, showcasing the usage, etc. But of course, we also had a reference. And the main reference was actually the U.S. Department of Defense that have used this from the get-go.
Well, you beat me to it. Yeah. How is it alike and different working with Swedish government and U.S.?
Yeah, U.S. is ginormous, if that's the word. It's gigantic. It's big. It's it's absolutely big, and it is very difficult to get in and to build relationships and to get to demonstrate your capabilities. And there are many trying. I wouldn't say that is less of competitors and others trying in Sweden, but I think it's more. I think it's geographical position now, membership of NATO, the nearness to Ukraine and the Middle East, etc., has driven an accelerated need, and therefore procurement processes have also been focused on changing a little bit. So getting commercial technology into the defense side rather than defense applications only. I think that's what's changed a little bit, but it's
agile.
It's been good. It's been good to work both on the U.S. side and then the Swedish side, but very different.
So you broke into the U.S. market first.
We did,
which is extremely challenging, and I think we've done entire episodes around what's it like to break into the U.S. market, particularly as a foreign-owned company. How'd you crack the code?
I think it actually had to do with that we were absolutely best in the world at building small, ultra small, lightweight mobile satellite terminals that the US DoD needed for their critical missions.
Best terminals in the world.
Best terminals in the world, the smallest with the highest throughput and the most resiliency built into them. Thinking of it, they went from kind of big parabolic antennas that were 1 to 2 meters in diameter to something they could put in a backpack.
2 meters. Break it down for us that are still doing that math.
I can't.
We're talking large.
We're talking large. And you have to put that up, and you have to have a compass, and you have to gear it towards or sync it with the satellite, etc. Here you have a terminal in your backpack that you can flip up basically and push a button, and you're up within 60 to 120 seconds.
Changes the game.
Changes the game totally. So that's how we got in. And then that customer said, why would we buy satellite capacity, terminals, and set up our own support and service? Ovzon, we need you to be the integrator of this. Well, you have what we need on the ground. We need you to build an integrated service. And that's how our service business really started, which is what we are about today.
So you've got an unparalleled product. You've got a win with the U.S. government, and you lever this with Sweden.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to take it back a little bit. You weren't employee number one at Ovzon.
No.
When in the company's growth cycle did you join?
Really good question. The employee number one is another Per, our founder. Which
Are there a lot of pairs?
There are a lot of pairs in our age group.
There are a lot of Catherines in my age group as well.
Yeah, you see, it's all generational. No, I wasn't. When did I come into the company? I came in the phase where we had one major customer, US DoD. We had would built the original service business, and we had gone public in 2018. So did an IPO on Nasdaq Stockholm in 2018 to fund the building of our first proprietary satellite and our onboard processor, which we'll get to in a minute. So that was underway. COVID happened, supply chain issues happened, So I came in that phase. So basically, I would call it the second phase of building building a world-class company out of a highly promising technology project with a very advanced customer. Mm-hmm. One very advanced customer.
So the team is now how big?
Around 50 people, was about 25 when I joined, I would say.
So you doubled the size of the team,
yeah,
and positioned yourself for what in Swedish kroner, I understand, is over $1 billion.
Yeah.
In terms of the win.
The deal is over $1 billion in Swedish kroner.
That's huge for a company of 50.
It is enormous for a company of 50. But that's all based on that. We have extraordinarily smart and intelligent and great people.
Well, I am a recruiter.
Yes.
So I'm very interested in how you doubled your team size and scored a win that big in such a short period of time. Tell me more.
Well, first of all, I don't think we're a large team. 50 is not a big team. So a lot of the things we've done, we've also outsourced. So we've been really good. When we built the satellite, someone else built the satellite, right? When we industrialize and build our terminals, we have third party that actually does the final assembly. But we own all IP and all technology and patents for all of this ourselves, right? How we recruited, simply put, I think it's the base of the people we had, knowledge, competence, educational levels, and so on, attracts this similar competence and skills and so on.
Like attracts like.
Yes, likes attract like. So we've been very fortunate because we've been very selective as well in the recruitment, not just anyone. So basically, we looked at our core competencies, we mapped them, and we said, if we're going to take on and grow this much, where do we have gaps, and where are we, one person short, kind of on the competence mapping, and we targeted those, and we targeted
skills that would complement what you already have,
both strengthen and complement, so broaden and deepen.
I find that really interesting, having been and currently am, second gen recruiter, because so often our hiring managers will say, I've already got this skill. What I want is that. Yep. And then you get the 5-person panel together and everybody picks what they know.
Yes.
And so you give out the option. So it's easy to say, hey, we want this. But actually, when you get down to the interview process and pick a skill that or something that doesn't feel exactly like you, that's where things can fall off the rails. So kudos for that in terms of executing.
Well, I think it's a team effort as well, because the people that need colleagues are involved in the process, and I'm involved. So we call it the grandfather principle, or whatever you want to call it. But I also talk to each of the people that are in the interview process when they've been maybe down selected to 2 or so. And I don't really drill down into competence and skills as much as cultural fit and so on. So that, because when you're a few people, it's very important that you get the dynamics right.
Yep.
Yeah. So
let's talk about the Swedish engineering and Nordic spirit there.
Yep.
Why are the Swedes so good at engineering, in your opinion?
Yeah, my opinion is basically, I think our educational system is absolutely state of the art. Sweden has always invested in the availability of education, both basic education and higher education. That's number one. So we have a high educational level. Secondly, I think Sweden has transformed itself, I would say, the last 30 years. We've always been innovative. So we've always been kind of the melting pot and the test for technology. Early adopters, checking out things, testing things. That then drives education. Early adopters also drives a culture of innovation, and the tax systems and so on has changed for companies. So you can actually start companies, startups and so on without too much pain and too much risk, which means it drives a culture of innovation. It drives you have high education, as I said, innovation, and then you dare to test things. I think it comes from that.
Mm-hmm. So strong cultural heritage around that innovative spirit. I'm curious, like in grade school, does everybody want to be an engineer when they grow up?
No, not everyone wants to be an engineer, but
what's the most common of kids in Sweden?
I think technology has attracts kids these days.
Yeah.
There's an at ease with it, and I think it's a global thing, right? But I think that's it. I think when I grew up, and that's not in now time, obviously, but there were more traditional things that people wanted to be: firefighters and police and doctors and lawyers and what have you, right? But engineering has always been there. And then, of course, I forgot to mention, we have big multinational industry that has been innovated in Sweden, from Volvo to Saab to Ericsson to pharma with Astra, Seneca now. And so Atlas Copco, Tetra Pak, which is where the milk cans, etc. So there's a lot of industry tradition as well, which has also helped, I think, building a strong engineering culture.
Now, you live in Seattle.
Yes, I live in Seattle because this is where I came when I moved to the U.S. I spend a lot of time in Washington, D.C. and in Stockholm.
So often, CEOs are required to live in the location their company is headquartered.
Yep.
And I actually had this discussion this morning with a client because we've seen that changing. What are your thoughts on, obviously, having lived it, not being full-time in your corporate headquarter location comes with its challenges?
Yes.
What do you see as the biggest plus and minus to it?
I think everything is about balance in life. So I think you gotta have a home base that you feel comfortable in with your family and so on. I think you cannot operate very well if you don't. But I also think we have to be a little bit like nomads. We have to be where the people are, your own employees, where the customers are, where your partners are, and where suppliers are. So there's a great deal of travel anyway. The pluses are that you're ubiquitous, really. You can be anywhere, and modern technology has helped us to do this remotely. But remote can never replace the personal relationships or the build up of that. So I spent my first year at the company, I spent a lot of time with our people in our Virginia office, in DC, in Tampa, and in Florida, and in Stockholm, to build those relationships, especially with the leaders that I work closely with.
So 4 locations, 3 in the U.S. currently.
3 locations. We have nothing here.
Okay.
It's just me having a house here.
The solo office.
This is where I was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In terms of that dynamic, so you're on the road a lot, and I think half the time you and I have chatted, you've been in Europe at some point.
Somewhere.
But I've also heard the argument that your CEO is going to be on the road all the time anyways. That's where you want them. So it doesn't matter where their home is. You think there's validity to that?
I think it is. I think as a leader, you're a little bit in conflict all the time with where you should be. I can feel that I should be more in Stockholm. I can feel that I should be more in Tampa or so on. But on the other hand, when you meet with customers, you got to be with them. We have 4 values that we drive, that I've driven from my leadership style. It's customer first, people always, business ubiquitously, and delivering value with technology. Mm-hmm. Those are fundamental. So what did I do the first day at work? I went to see a customer. First day I set my foot in Ovzon, I went to see a customer. Then people, of course, met everyone, learned about everyone, And then business needs to go. So we had one customer. Business ubiquitously means we had to diversify our revenue base. We set a plan in place to have more customers. So the
So
big
you had
deal,
one customer.
we had several customers within that, but the US DoD was the 95% of our revenue.
And we see that. It's not totally uncommon.
It's not
among
totally
all
uncommon. No.
Lead startups for a public company. It's a little, or bankers, investment purposes. It's
Yes.
a little concerning.
Yeah. And as a CEO, it's concerning because it's not concerning. It's a fantastic customer to have, and many would want it, right? But you also have to diversify because you don't know what's going to happen.
If you lose that, the whole company can be gone.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about tech. What makes the Ovzon 3 different?
Ovzon 3 was designed with the end user in mind, and the end user had specific requirements. And the requirements are mobility. So you have to be able to steer the antennas on the satellite to where the users are, where the use space is. Then it's about energy. So if you can steer it and you can concentrate the energy from the satellite down to a smaller space, you get more throughput. So we have three criteria, really: performance, mobility, resiliency. So it's designed with 5 steerable antennas and a gateway beam that can be steered basically anywhere within its area. That's unique. It is a geostationary satellite, so it's 36,000 kilometers up. It's
way up.
Way up. But it also is the way we design networks in that the spectrum we use, etc., makes it less vulnerable for weather impact or even jamming. It will come to that in a minute. But so performance is important, data throughput, mobility, that you can move and steer and go anywhere you want very quickly. It doesn't take hours, it's minutes really. And then the third component is resiliency, which is, can you have continuous connectivity for the user so that they have there's no gap in their connectivity, and that's very important. And it cannot, and you want to allow it not to be disturbed, jammed, or so on. So we have a payload on the satellite that we have developed. It's an onboard processor that basically is a gateway in space. We move the intelligence up in space instead of having it on the ground. It's software enabled. And we can basically, if a teleport is out where the signal goes down, we make one of our terminals a teleport, and we create a closed loop communication system.
So you can fix it.
We can fix it, which means that the customer will never have a broken connectivity.
Well,
that's
done.
Mission critical.
So at Satellite Week, the question came up on multiple fronts. It was the same week Musk had made a huge announcement. European business was a huge new opportunity at the moment. And the question around, is GEO and MEO dead? Because we've seen so much success in LEO. Where do you fall into that?
First of all, I think what's happened with LEO, the industry has talked about this for more than 20 years, is absolutely phenomenal. It has made satellite connectivity something that is useful for everyone. It's more for consumers in my mind. I know you can use it for business too, but it's more for consumers. The investment that goes in, the number of satellites that are up, connecting people anywhere on Earth, fantastic. So I think, and it's driving innovation. It's
drives our daily lives.
Yeah, absolutely, our daily lives. It's superb what SpaceX and Project Kuiper and OneWeb and Telesat and everyone is doing. So I think it's phenomenal, really. We fall into that. I don't think MEO and GEO are dead. And for us, because we are in GEO and we are mission critical, and we're about connecting and protecting people, organizations, and society, we see ourselves as complementary to the broad connectivity circle that is built by the LEO constellations. But we complement that perfectly. So we tell our customers, you should use LEO constellations or connectivity for crew welfare and for general connectivity and so on. If you want mission critical, you can't go with best effort. You got to have someone that guarantees you. So we think we it's even improving our position.
You're
honestly.
guaranteeing best performance.
Yes. Yeah. So I think it's complementary, and I think it drives the industry and innovation forward. So I think it's good, and geo is not dead.
What are we going to be celebrating in 5 years?
In 5 years, are you thinking of for Ovzon or in general?
Ovzon, space ecosystem,
Yeah.
wherever you want to take it. Well, I guess both.
I think both. I think we have a new economy. Space is a new economy. It's also a new turf of positioning for countries. I think we will celebrate countries and alliances having sovereign capabilities in space. That means that they can protect their countries and their societies and their people better. So I think that's a really good thing. I think we will celebrate a more sustainable space business. I think there's going to be drives and regulations for.
Is there money in that?
No, there might not be money in it, but I think it's a natural thing to do, because even though space is endless, you got to also think of it from a sustainability perspective. So I think there's going to be a drive towards it. Might be regulated.
Yep.
Etc.
Some investors stepping up. We don't know who they are
Correct.
yet.
And it might be countries and alliances that are also investing in that. So I think we celebrate that. For Ovzon, I think we will celebrate an enormous growth journey. I think we'll celebrate that we've become this mission-critical world leader for those customers that really needs ubiquitous connectivity for all their critical missions and protecting countries and borders. I think that's what we're going to celebrate. But we're going to build a huge company based on that.
All things great to celebrate. Per, thanks so much for your time today and sharing this incredible space with us.
Thank you for coming.